Steak and eggs. It's kind of a classic, whether for breakfast, brunch, or dinner. But in the South, we've got our own little spin on it. Chicken fried steak, coated in a crispy buttermilk batter and slathered in a rich, creamy gravy. Of course, eggs are a fine pairing, but we think for maximum enjoyment, we need a steamy, fresh-baked biscuit too. So, let's make it. We're going to start with the biscuits, and they have to be the easiest biscuits of all time. So that'll be 3 cups of all-purpose flour into a large bowl. We're going to add to that a pinch of salt, about 4 teaspoons of sugar, some baking powder, some baking soda, just a 1/4 teaspoon, and of course all the exact ingredients will be down below in the description and on the website. To this, we are going to add 2 cups of warm, heavy cream. It should be about 95 to 110 degrees. Go ahead and mix all that until everything is thoroughly combined into a nice dough. And then all we need to do is use a parchment-lined baking tray and scoop out 1/3 scoops of our biscuit dough, leaving about 1.5 inches to 2 inches between each biscuit. Now just use wet or oiled fingers to kind of move them around and shape them, or you can leave them rustic if you want. I'm going to top mine with some flaky salt. You can also brush on some melted butter. Those are kind of optional steps that you can take. You can also just throw them right into a 450-degree oven. You want to cook them for about 12 to 15 minutes, rotating once while cooking until they're nicely golden brown, slightly puffy, and cooked through. Give them a few minutes to rest on the counter and then eat them immediately. Hopefully get a nice little steam facial when you pop it open as well. These will keep in a sealed bag on the counter for a day or 2, or in the freezer for up to 6 months. Now, on to our steak. I'm using cubed steak. It's kind of classic for this preparation. It's been prodded with a very sharp instrument to tenderize it, but we need to go ahead and hammer it out a little bit to tenderize it more, and also to flatten it out so that it cooks evenly and quickly before the crust totally burns. Once you've got it to about, I'd say, 1/2 inch to 1/3 inch, you're good to go. So to make our dredge, I have here 2 cups of all-purpose flour that I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of Cajun seasoning to, a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder go in as well for a little leavening in the crust. If you don't want to use Cajun seasoning here, just use salt and pepper as well. Go ahead and combine all of that so that it's thoroughly mixed and there's no big pockets of baking powder or Cajun seasoning anywhere. In another bowl here, or a pie pan, I've got 2 whole eggs, to which I'm going to add 1 tablespoon or 2 of hot sauce. That's optional, but you know I like that vinegary hot kick. And then to our eggs, we are going to add 1.5 cups of buttermilk. Whole milk would be alright, but you don't get that same tangy flavor as you do with the buttermilk. Whisk and stir all of that to combine, and now it is time to dredge our steaks. So, using one hand, flour your future country fried chicken fried steak. Second hand goes into the egg mixture, coated thoroughly, and then press in more flour to create a dry outer crust, making sure you have no wet pockets remaining. Set this aside and make sure that crust has at least 10 minutes to set up, and in this time you can go ahead and coat your other steaks. Now to cook this, I've got about 1.5 cups of vegetable oil in the bottom of a heavy skillet. Got that oil up to about 325 degrees, and I'm just going to lay that steak in carefully away from me, cooking it for 3 to 5 minutes. And I'm also using a spoon to kind of set that top crust by just brushing some hot oil over the top. Once you see those golden brown colors come around the edge, you're going to want to go ahead and give this a flip. Give it another 3 to 5 minutes until it is cooked all the way through. To make our gravy, remove all but about 1/4 cup of the oil from the pan, leaving as many of those dark brown solids behind as you can. And then to that 1/4 cup of oil, we are adding 1/4 cup of our flour from our dredge before. If you have a little bit too much oil in your pan, just add more flour until it is a nice thick consistency. Whisk that for a minute or 2 until the flour is combined and cooked into the oil. You no longer smell raw flour in the air. And now to this, we're going to add cold whole milk. We're going to do about 3 cups in total, but you always want to start off and add just a little bit at a time. As Chef John always says, hot roux, cold liquid, no lumps. Sometimes you got to stir a little bit, but trust the process. Keep adding that milk a little bit at a time, stirring until it is well combined. Once our 3 cups of milk are in, our final addition here is going to be some heavy cream. That's going to add a nice richness and thickness to our final gravy or cream sauce. Once you get that in there and combine thoroughly, you want to give this a taste. It's definitely going to need some salt. You're probably going to want to add some pepper as well. So give it a nice pinch of salt, nice grinding of pepper, taste it again, see where we are. And then this is optional, but finally I like to add in a handful of green onions because I put green onions on everything. Give that a stir, let it cook out for 4 or 5 minutes, and then we are ready to plate this up. So first we're going to put a nice chicken fried steak down on our plate. Add one of those cream drop biscuits. And I have a beautiful sunny side up egg going down. I have a video for how to cook perfect fried eggs and eggs in many different ways, which you can find right up in the corner there. Take our creamy gravy and generously layer that down over top our steak and our biscuit. Finally, stay in shape with a few green onions over the top of everything else, and breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, whatever you have is served. So even after sitting out for about 20 minutes, the steak still had a nice crispy crust. Got to get a little bit of that gravy on there to make sure the flavors work well together. Spoiler alert, they do. If you've never had cube steak before, it's got a really interesting texture and it's got a really super beefy, meaty flavor. Those biscuits have a delightful crumb, super moist, super tender. The gravy certainly doesn't hurt anything. And what's a plate of steak and eggs without a little bit of a runny yolk to finish everything off? Thanks for watching. I hope you'll have a great week. Come back and check out other videos in the future. And in the meantime, go make something delicious.